Morning, everybody. I thought, now that I've got a few conferences behind me and a little bit of time on my hands, I thought I would do another little one of these live broadcasts. Kind of excited because last week I was at the ICE conference talking about different ways to hack your classroom, whether that be hacking lesson plans or classroom management and so on, or actual physical hacks. What can we do now that we've got these tiny little Internet of Things sort of devices? What could we actually do with them in the classroom to kind of change that dynamic? We actually had a really a fun discussion. I'm going to show you a little bit about what we talked about in just a few minutes. But right around the same time, in fact, I believe it was it was just a couple of days prior, they announced the new version of the Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi W. The Raspberry Pi W is, Raspberry Pi Zero W. The Raspberry Pi Zero was always this little chippy computer. I have one around here. This was the original Raspberry Pi Zero. I'm assuming that you can kind of see that. Tiny little computer, $5. There's a lot that you could do with it. The only trouble was it didn't have any easy way for it to jump onto a network. So what I wound up having to do is, like many people, is buy some sort of a USB dongle for it to add Wi-Fi to it. And the reality is, those dongles more often than not cost more than the Pi Zero itself. Now, we're still talking about maybe a total of $15 or $20 for an internet-connected computer that you can do just about anything with, which is not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't quite reach, what they were really trying to achieve, which is something that's really, kind of dirt cheap. So then they announced this, the Raspberry Pi Zero W, just last week. They bumped the price up from $5 to $10, but they added, first of all, it still has, it's a 1 gigahertz single core CPU, 512 megs of RAM. It still has some of the same ports and so on. Still has the camera port, and then they added Wi-Fi and they added Bluetooth 4. That makes it from good to great, because now all of a sudden, once it's powered on, it can exist by itself. That's the only thing you need to add to this thing is power, and an SD card, but the SD cards are getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. Now, the only trouble right now is finding it. If you actually go through some of their official stores, you'll find that, yes, you can order it right now from CanaKit. However, shipping from CanaKit is going to be a whopping $10. So you're ordering a $10 board, and now if you could order more than one board, that would be great, but most of these places are limiting you to one at a time because, frankly, it's just that popular right now. So they can. Here's another place, the Pi Hut, and unfortunately it is completely sold out. What I did find is probably here's another one from the UK, Mod My Pi. You can order them, but it's going to be $8 to ship to the United States, which puts the total at $15.99, which is almost $20 ish US. Which takes us to Pimoroni. Right now, if you don't have a Micro Center store, brick and mortar store near you, that's the best deal. Pimoroni, you get it. It's you're ordering it from Great Britain, so it's going to take a little while to get to you. But it's £13.50, which translates to a little over $15, around $15 US. So you're paying $15 for a $10 computer, $5 shipping. That's not terrible. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I would expect. It's not Amazon. You're not going to get free shipping on this. If you live near a Micro Center store, though, Micro Center has actually the best deal right now. If you live close to it, you can get them for $10 a piece. Add it to cart, go pick it up at the store. You can only do that once per day. If you want to order more than one in a day, they bump the price up because they're trying to get you to come in every single day. It makes sense. You know what I mean? So if it's close enough to you, you can go ahead and pick one of those up every day. That is actually what I am planning to do, and that is what I actually did yesterday. Yesterday, I went over to Micro Center, and I went over and I picked up one. And let me show you what I'll be honest, I picked up two. I bought one from the pickup cart, and then I went and talked to the manager, and I asked him if I could buy one more. My plan is to actually buy a whole bunch of these, some for the house, and then I'm going to actually try and set them up to work with the dash buttons and give them away during workshops. But we'll come back to that. So let me flip this over to here. This is the Raspberry Pi Zero, so you can get a first-hand look at it. Comes in cute little whatever, baggy and so on. The device itself is almost identical to the old Pi Zero. Right here, you still have the little ribbon cable port so that you can add the official camera kit for it. Over here on this side, that's where you add the micro SD card. I found that I could get a 16 gigabyte micro SD card for $5.99. I haven't tried online to see if I could find them even cheaper. That was actually in the store at Micro Center. Not bad. And honestly, for most of the stuff that I'm going to be doing with this, I don't need more than 16 gigs. That's actually plenty for me. And then on this side, you've got a few ports. This is an HDMI port. This is to plug in a monitor. The only trouble is it is not obviously the same size as a standard HDMI cable. A standard HDMI cable is much larger, so you will need a converter, either a dedicated HDMI to mini HDMI cable or a converter port if you want to plug in a monitor or a TV or something like that. And then on this side over here, you have two mini USB ports. They look exactly the same. They're slightly different. This one right here provides power only. That's it. Only power. This one over here will provide power, but it will also do data transfer. So if you're going to plug it into your computer for setup or to transfer files or anything else along those lines, you want to make sure that you're plugging into there because that will power it up and allow you to transfer your data over there. If you plug it into your computer over here, it won't show up. You know what I mean? You won't be able to transfer anything or do anything with it or whatever else. Now, it's a pretty simple device. That's it. I mean, technically, these are all, input outputs. You can do all sorts of other things with it. But I'm going to keep it rather simple for right now. And that's all that there is that you necessarily need to know. When it comes to you, it comes just like this. There is no SD card. You got to take your micro SD card and put it into your computer. You can download the Pi operating system for free. I believe the current one is called, is it Jesse or Jerry or something like that. And then you can use a program like Etcher or one of these other ones to flash it to the disk. If that sounds complicated, it's not. Download the disk image file, download the flashing program, and just click go. It says, show me where this is, click go, and it will just handle the rest. And then once it's done, you take the card out, and you plug it into there, and then you can boot it up. Now, if you have a cable for this right here, and plug it into a monitor, you can plug your power in right there. You can plug in a mouse right over there, or a powered USB hub, or a keyboard, and then a mouse into the keyboard, or something along those lines. And then plug in your monitor, and you're good to go. It'll have an operating system on there, and you can connect it to your Wi-Fi network and everything else that you need to do. I personally like running them headless, which means without a monitor at all. So what I usually do is I will plug it from here into the computer. And you can set up what's called SSH, which is a way to secure protocol to connect from your computer into this wirelessly. And right there on the once it's connected, you can set up SSH, and you can have this thing get to the internet through your computer at first. And then once you connect into it, you can say, all right, here's my Wi-Fi network that I want you to connect to. Whenever you boot up, connect to this Wi-Fi network and do it all automatically. That's what I usually wind up doing. I'm going to actually provide some links in the show notes on Teach42 with how to do that and what directions I followed in order to get that set up. But then it will just sit there on your network and exist. Now, what do you actually do with it? Well, there's a lot of things that you could do with it. We actually, at my workshop, we spent a little bit of time just kind of looking at a standard classroom picture, trying to figure out, all right, so what in this room could be hacked? And people identified a whole bunch of things. They identified, they looked at the speakers. Actually, 3 people said that the speakers by the whiteboard were a royal pain, because in order to turn the volume up and down on those speakers, it just wasn't in a convenient location. So what they would love to do is just have a Raspberry Pi Zero that would provide just a rotator, a volume knob, a remote volume knob for the speakers in your classroom. And while that seems like kind of a waste to just set that up, the reality is, once again, for $10, if that makes your life easier, more power to you. And you can do that. You can just dedicate one chip to just handling that single task. Other people were saying, looking at the workbook and saying maybe we could actually hack the workbook and use circuit scribes and stuff to actually make those things come alive. Similar sort of idea for the if you look at the bulletin board. A few people pegged the bulletin board, and they were saying, why not turn a bulletin board into something interactive, sort of like a museum exhibit? When you go to a museum exhibit, a lot of times they'll give you a lot of information, and then you push a button here to find out more about this portion. You push this button and it does a voiceover. You push this button and it lights up this little section. Well, once again, you can have that entire bulletin board be powered just by this, and just be running copper tape from the buttons and from the things that you want to be interactive, which will trigger, things on the board and then turn on lights or play sounds and so on and so forth. Powered once again by the W. And then we came up with some really crazy ideas. I love the stuff that we were talking about. I'm a simple man, and yesterday I got the Pi, I wanted to do something purposeful with it right away. So I decided to take one of the 2 boards that I got and to install Pihole on it. Now, for those of you that have never heard of Pihole, it is not as filthy as it sounds. Pihole is a black hole for internet advertisements. What it does is, it basically serves as an ad blocker, not for your computer, but for every device on your network. Think about that. Every device. So, it serves as an ad blocker for your computers. Yes, all of your computers. For your tablets. Your iPads, your Samsung Galaxies, and so on, all of your and for your phones. It serves as an ad blocker for those. It even would technically serve as an ad blocker for, Xbox Live or whatever else, however else you might get online and so on. It will block ads on every internet device. And the way it works is incredibly simple. Once you have your Raspberry Pi set up and on the network, which basically just means flashing the card, putting in your Wi-Fi settings, and so on, so it exists on your network, then all you need to do is run this command, curl-ssl, and then install pihole.net and then bash. That's it. You run that command, and it will start installing Pihole on your Pi. It will ask you a few basic questions. What's your IP address? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Da-da-da-da-da. And then once it's done, it just starts running. Now, you do need to tell your devices where and how to connect to the Pihole. Now, there's 2 ways to go about doing this. You can do it a la carte, individually, and that's what I kind of did at first, just to see how it would go. So on my computer, you can kind of see right over here, there's a kind of an example. I just changed my DNS settings so that instead of my router telling my computer or telling the internet how to translate the websites that I want to go to, what I mean by this is this. Every website actually has a series of numbers that, a server address, so that people know how to contact it. And somewhere there's a DNS record that says when someone types the word google.com, point them to this server. When someone types teach42.com, point them to this server. I know I'm oversimplifying, but that's basically what DNS is, okay? Domain name service, okay? What I'm doing is, normally, there are my router, my internet company, I get it through RCN cable. It has its own servers to make that connection that says whenever someone types google.com, point over to here. Instead, I told my computer, switch switch from, hold on, I'm just going to go over here, switch from using the RCN one to using Pihole, my little Raspberry Pi chip. So now, whenever I type in google.com, it says, hey, where's google.com? And then Pihole says, hey, it's over there, right? Now, the difference being, while it does that, it also can serve as my ad blocker, because all the ads say, hey, grab this website, grab an ad from this website and then put it over here. This thing says, don't do that. And like I said, I could do it just for my individual computer and change the settings, and then that's the only computer in the network that will take advantage of this. Or I could go to my router, and at my router, which normally provides the DNS settings for every device on my network, normally, I can tell my router, instead of looking at RCN for your DNS, don't do that. Look right here instead. Look at the Pihole and use that. And if I have my router do that, then it's going to provide that ad blocking service for every device on my network, which is kind of cool. Now, if you're a stats junkie, you can also, it provides you with a very simple little dashboard where you can see how many queries were blocked today, out of how many, what percentage, how many domains are being blocked. You can actually start drilling in and seeing this. So if I actually go to CNN.com or MSNBC or TechCrunch or Amazon.com or any site that serves up ads, these numbers start to jump around, and you can kind of see what it is, and it will block them across the board. You can disable it if you want to. You can add your own whitelist or blacklist. You can say, I want to get ads from Target. I like my Target ads, or I want to get ads from Amazon, and you can whitelist those ones and let those ones through. But the nice thing is, it does it for every device on your network without you needing to do a thing on those devices, which is pretty cool, especially if you got a lot of kids on your network. If your kids have iPads and so on, or their own computers, which I think is all kinds of awesome. Once again, $10. I didn't even add, I mean, I've got tons of ways to power up one of these things. So technically, it's actually, this one over here is the one that I'm doing. You can kind of see it blinking and so on. And this yellow cable is just connected to a powered hub over by my computer. Eventually, I'll get a case for it, and I'll put it somewhere a little bit more stable and so on. But for right now, it's just working. And the way I have my settings set up is, if something were to go wrong with this, if I were to unplug it, it'll just default back to the cable company. No harm done. You know what I mean? It's just fine. I don't care. But so long as that thing is working, we are an ad-free family inside the house. Obviously, when I go outside the house, it's not going to be blocking anything unless I do a VPN or something else along those lines. Kind of neat, huh? Isn't that neat? Totally free. Totally free. All you're paying for is, once again, $10 little computing device. Not bad. Not bad at all. So, there's a ton of other things that you can do with this. I'm not going to get into every project that you can do with a Pi Zero W right now. We'll come back to that maybe in a few days and talk about some of the other ways that you can make use of it. Hey, maybe we'll even do a Pi Day broadcast and just focus in on the Raspberry Pi. But I guess if you're going to take anything away from this, it's just when the device itself costs no more than just about $10, you could do it for just about anything. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden, having a single purpose, like even if you do nothing else but make it a volume button for the rest of your computer, it's fine. No big deal. And especially if you're learning the skills to do it at the same time. Excuse me. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I shouldn't clap. That probably totally overmodulated my mic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to wrap things up for right now. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any other comments or questions about the Raspberry Pi Zero, you can either leave them on Facebook, or when this gets posted to teach42.com, you can leave them on the blog. If you have, other favorite projects or suggestions or ways that you've seen people using it in education, leave a comment. Other people wind up coming and watching this video later, so pay it forward and let them know what else they should be doing with the Pi Zero W, or if you have any other tips for getting it. So until the next time, take care, everybody. Sayonara, Fuerza, Shalom, and of course, goodbye.